hello there again. This is Dr. Mike signing in with you again today, talking about how to keep sweet music in your marriage. And yesterday I was telling you about grading your mates, and I didn't do that well enough. My wife corrected me, and so I wanted to do it well enough for you, so you can do this. And by all means, don't get into strife over these things. Walk in love with this. It's not intended to bring any sort of strife, these numbers, when you grade each other. Okay? Now, number 5 is the best. They do it really, really well. Number 4 is not so good, but pretty good. Okay? Number 3 is they do it average. They don't get it all right, but they get some right. And 2 means that they are really poor at this scenario. And number 1 is, help, please, somebody help me. And you need a touch-up, an immediate touch-up in your marriage, and that's what I'm here to do today, is to give you an instant touch-up so that you can bring these numbers up to number 5. How about that? Somebody said, well, I wish they were, Dr. Mike. Well, they can be. They can be. Now, we've talked about dependence, being dependable, and we're talking now about independent. It almost sounds like a contradiction in terms, but it really isn't. Now, I covered that, but I'm just kind of recovering it for this reason. I don't think I summarized it with an analogy where you can really understand the independent scenario. So many people today are too independent. This is something that years ago it was easy to explain, because if there was any difficulty, it was that husbands were too controlling in years that have gone by. Because in those years, the husband primarily did the work, the wife kept the home, she ran the home and did all the raising of the children and so on and so forth. And the Lord has gotten through to us in this scenario that was not right either. There is an even distribution of our responsibilities. In other words, we all take part in all the responsibilities, but we don't take advantage of the responsibility to do that ourselves at the risk of allowing someone else, or rather at the risk of pushing someone else out of their responsibilities. So that's not very clear, but I'll try to clear it up as we go along. Let me just say this. Today, there is almost a much too independent sort of spirit on young married couples today, because they've been taught so long about the being independent of one another that we've carried that almost to seed. The husband is biblically supposed to be the director. In other words, the one responsible to set the day out in prayer. The one responsible for the children to look up to as the father of the home. The one who carries the responsibility to love beyond measure. Are you with me? Those kinds of things are normal and natural. And since in many homes today there is a distribution of labor, meaning that 2 people work in the home, and that's not always the case. There are many ladies that have decided to stay home and raise their children, and that's wonderful. If you can't do that, then the next best thing is to share in that responsibility, and many of you are doing that so very well, and you're to be complimented. But when you're at home, there are certain responsibilities that we have to one another to make this marriage a marriage of sweet music and harmony and symphony together. And when your kids are raised up in a scenario like that, then they duplicate that in their marriages when they grow up. And it starts the whole thing right according to God's Word. His holy Word just doesn't make any mistakes. Believe me, they don't. Now, I was talking about this independence, and I want to share with a couple that we were really best friends with for a number of years, an attorney buddy of mine, and he would be a good one for me to describe to you what can happen to 2 very bright people who suddenly are having separate directions, separate friends, separate issues, and they begin to grow apart. I can remember my buddy, well, he started out playing golf. And he played golf with me, and we had a great time playing golf. We'd play almost every morning before going to work. But and then he got into airplanes. And then he got into motocrosses, bikes, motorbikes. And then he got into boats. And then he got into motor coaches, all of which required different friends. So my other friend, his wife, unfortunately, had to leave all of her friends when he left all of his friends. Well, eventually that didn't work out, and they were divorced. So I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to share things together. You know, Mom and I are from an old school, I guess. We really don't think that married couples should have separate friends. I mean, couples are great. And occasionally a person will have a buddy who you play golf with, and that's great. But there can be a factor where there's too many outside friends that the wife does not become a part of that sort of friendship circle. And the same way with the husband. So, I just want to tell you not to do that. Make friends together, have a life together, have fun together, and be victorious together when you do that. Okay? This is Mike signing off again today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. In the meantime, you have a blessed, holy, and loving day today.